Says we're live.
All right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. And I am so sorry for all of that delay. A little frazzled at this end. We had some technical difficulties, but I think we're okay now. So welcome, and we will be right into the chat. But first, we just want to tell you what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about gender, self-expression, repression, and if we have time, and at this point, I don't know, we were going to talk about triggers as well, emotional triggers, things, especially anger triggers. But first, for anybody who's new and who is still sticking around, who don't know who we are both creators at the Hyperion Source. I'm Susan, and this is
Carrie, nice to meet you.
and we're happy to be here after all of that, trying to hit the right buttons and test things. So now that we're actually on, I do want to check comments and make sure that everything is going okay. So let's just hop in and say hi to people finally. I know there's been a lot of conversations, so we'll just check out, make sure everybody can hear us and see us and that everything is okay. So comments, yes, there's a lot of talking going on in here.
Say hello. I see all of you.
Okay, does it look good? You can hear us and see us. People are saying yes. Yes. Okay. I want to scroll up and just say hi to some people because you guys have been super patient and we really appreciate it. There's a lot of people in here. Christina, hi. Anticrisis, hi. Eve, Ven Winter, Melinda, hi. Bree, hi. Renaissance Fairy, Nightlight, did I say hi to you? This is awesome. Everyone is reading. They really like to have audiobooks for. I would like to have audiobooks too. I think Morg gets enough people asking for that we will not push him on that right now. But I would like that as well. Beetlejuice, hi. Joanna, Cicero, did I say hi, Cicero? Carrie, can you see comments? Did you manage to get that to work?
Yes, I
Okay.
I figured it out.
Good. Rabbit Snowflake, hello. Wow, us. Scorpio Life, hello. Okay, I'm glad Jewel, hello. I'm glad you guys are. We have to hurry because wow, we really came in late. So hello to. I hope I said hello to everybody. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. Yeah. Super chatting really helps us. We appreciate it so much. Okay, I think since we sound good, nobody says. Scorpio just said I'm late. Yeah, so are we. So we really apologize for that. Okay, I think we should just get right to it because we are so late. I don't quite have my setup right. Carrie's tiny for me, but we're going for it. Okay, are you ready, Carrie?
Let's go.
Okay, so we're talking about something. This is something that I was reminded of because recently I saw a post by a non-binary person who was just expressing themselves the way they wanted to. And I normally don't look at comments because they tend to be very negative. And I was pleased that there were a lot of positive comments about this. That's really good to see. But of course, there's always the negative ones. And I was reminded that when I did the critical thinking live stream with Rowan, I really rushed through an example that is a trigger for me. It's something that is an anger trigger, which is why I thought maybe we could discuss that if we have time. But it's the Apache helicopter example. And I thought I would try to explain it from a different angle, but and maybe that would help people understand it better. I didn't think I did the best job. But before we start that, let's make sure that we are on the same page with three definitions: sex, gender, and sexual orientation. Sex is anatomy, body parts. Gender is your internal, how you feel about how you relate to gender roles, and gender roles are external, society defined roles. And sexual orientation is to whom you're attracted physically or in whatever way. So, well, no, not whatever way, sexually, obviously. And it's really important to understand, especially the difference between sex and gender, because a problem that I've run into, and probably everybody's seen it once in a while, is you are talking to someone who insists that sex and gender are the same thing, that they're synonymous, and they absolutely don't understand that language is something that we created as a tool so that we can communicate with each other. This isn't something that is externally, the definitions of words aren't externally given to us. And language itself changes all the time. We add new words all the time. And something that amused me recently, as a good example of this, is that the word literally, which I use way too often, actually has been updated because everybody misuses it. I at least try to use it correctly, but it's very tempting to use it in a virtual sense rather than in an actual sense. Everybody does that, like, oh, I was literally on fire last night. And it's like, no, you weren't. No,
that would be interesting.
You weren't. You'd be in the hospital if you were literally on fire last night. However, it's so popular, the way of using it that way, that Merriam-Webster Dictionary actually changed their definition. So you cannot convince me that we can't define gender as an internal experience, how you see yourself, and leave sex for the body parts. So it's just not a good argument. Anyway, so, and in labels themselves, I just wanted to say a quick thing about labels. And that is that people often will say, I don't like labels. I don't want to be limited. And I've never thought labels are really a bad thing. They're language. They're how they're words we communicate through language, and labels are just words. The problem comes when there aren't labels that fit somebody, and they're forced to choose from a limited set, and nothing is right for them. Then it's a problem. That's why people don't like labels, because they don't want to fit themselves into something. But if there were a word that would include how someone felt about that particular thing, then it would be like, hey, I'm that, or I agree with that. And it would be useful. Language is useful.
Labels are a problem when they're put on you.
Yeah.
As you say.
And they don't fit.
But when you choose them as a way of expressing yourself, then I don't see why that's.
Exactly. I mean, that's my whole point. And I don't want to force somebody into any kind of a label. And if they don't like that idea, that's fine too. It's just that I think that the negativity associated with it is because there aren't the labels that fit for everybody. We just need more words, that's all. So that people have a way to communicate who they are to other people. That's all. Anyway, so now that we're past that, and we've got the definitions down clearly enough, let me do the Apache helicopter thing and try not to spend too much time on it. So the last time I did it, I talked about the social construct, that there wasn't one for Apache helicopter. I'm going to try a different angle, and I'm going to start by saying, because I think this is probably the best way to think about why the Apache helicopter thing is so awful, why it's not just making fun of somebody, it goes beyond that, and I think that's why it bothers me so much. And so let's just look at, why does someone identify as a gender different from what people would expect given their given their sex or given their physical attributes. And let's imagine, as an example, a kid, and remember, kids don't know gender roles. They're not familiar with this. They're just little. I'm talking little kids. They're just out there doing their thing, being themselves. And they would just continue to do that. If society didn't impose things on them, they would just, be whoever they are. So imagine that there's a boy, like someone who is male, and people think, oh, that's a boy, and they automatically think they should like boy things. But let's just say that this kid doesn't gravitate toward the things that are typically male or, for boys. Like playing with blocks or trucks or whatever. Now I'm being really, really extreme. There's a lot of, situations where you can like things that are in your realm, but also like to enjoy other things. So in other words, girls can play with trucks, and it's, at least these days, not considered too outlandish, but it's harder for boys. And I said this last time too, it's really, really much harder. So let's say that this kid really likes things that are more feminine, playing with makeup and girls' clothes and dolls, right? Someday, someone says, you can't do that. That's a girl thing, and you're a boy. And the kid has to now deal with what does that mean? Why can't I do that? And it, imagine that there's confusion, that there's pain, that there's, weirdness involved. And then imagine that it starts happening over and over and over and gets worse and worse. And the comments it's not just a parent sort of pushing them away. It's actual bullying and terrible, terrible experiences that build up over a long period of time, until one day the person says, I don't identify as that thing, that label that you're trying to put me in. And I identify, and I'm using in this example a very, very easy one, very kind of more clear cut. I identify as female, as woman, as whatever. I don't identify with this thing that you're trying to assume that I am based on my sex. So you have to take into consideration all of the years of negative inner turmoil, outer stuff that this person has dealt with. And then they announce, I identify as a woman or female. I apologize. I'm so bad. I'm like dyslexic with knowing which words go with sex and which is with gender, but never mind that. The person says this, and the person next to them says, oh, well, I identify as an Apache helicopter then. And this is the problem. The fact that the person who said the Apache helicopter is dismissing completely the reason why this person has said that is because they don't fit what has been expected of them and what they've experienced for a long time. And it's very flippant. It's also that slippery slope thing where, well, if we let you identify as a woman, what's to stop someone from saying, I want to be Apache helicopter, which is, again, I could go off on that for a long time, and we just don't have the time. But it's so
dehumanizing.
Just not human.
Dehumanizing. Yeah. To equate someone's experiences and identity with an object or something so ridiculous. No, they're not trying to say, I identify with something that has no social construct, that doesn't exist. What they're doing is discussing their personal experiences with how the world treats them. And they're saying, if you're going to insist that we be something, then this is the thing that I most closely resemble. Now, there is a related point, and this is another thing that kind of drives me crazy when I see it. Some people will say, a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and you can't change that, and you're stuck with it, and, deal with it. And I always want to come back with, well, if someone says that, if it's like a male who says, I identify as female, they're doing that because that's what society is saying of them. If you insist that they're a man, why 2 seconds later do you say, act like a man? when you've just told them that they are a man and there's nothing they can do about that. They're a man. Then why are you telling them to act like a man? If they're a man, they're acting like a man, no matter what they do, because they're a man. And I don't understand that logic either,
because there isn't any behind it. My biggest problem is that by making light or dismissing someone's chosen identity, you're basically telling them there's something wrong with them.
Oh, they definitely want to tell them there's something wrong with them.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're just who they are. It's incredibly bigoted and narrow-minded, and it really makes me mad. and triggered.
And see, I'm in the same boat. When someone invalidates another person's experiences, especially when it involves trauma and pain, it's really despicable. And when there's no solution offered. Basically, what the people who are very close-minded, what they are saying is, I'm uncomfortable with what you're doing. It goes against everything that I believe, and you are this, you have no choice, and you must act like this because this goes with what you are. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're expected to do that. And if it causes you turmoil, too bad, because what matters to me is my own comfort. And that I find, again, really disgusting. So I hope that coming from that angle and discussing that helped a bit. And when I was thinking about this tonight, right before the live stream, in fact, I was talking to my mother at dinner, and she asked me, what are you talking about in the live stream? And when I was telling her about this, I said, I shared a booth at a farmer's market with my friend who made little, she did henna, and she made jewelry and did lots of things, but she also would make these little wands. And Carrie, I may have told you this once before. She made little wands. They were like $1 for kids who came by. And she just took a little stick, put some ribbon on it, and put something on the top of it, like a star or a butterfly or some kind of little thing. And she had things that were very, I would say, gender neutral. And she had things that were more feminine, more, girly, typically girly traditionally, and things that were more traditionally for boys. And we used to sit and watch. It was awesome when a parent just said, pick what you want and I'll buy it for you. But it was heartbreaking when kids, and it was usually a boy, wanted something that was traditionally for a girl. And the mom would push it back in and pull out a different one. You can have this one with the snake on it, or the dragon, or something that's more boy-like. And the looks on these kids' faces, you could just see they're trying to figure out, but why? And I remember one thing in particular that bothered my friend and I so much. And it was when she was doing hennas. She did like little $2 hennas for kids. And I think it was two sisters and a little brother. And the sisters picked out what they wanted and they got their hennas and they were happy. And the little boy picked out something that I can't remember what it was, but it looked like something that would be, for kind of like a girl. And the mother was not having it. And she kept saying, no, not that one. And she was like, what about this one? What about a spider? Oh, look at this one. She was very excited about trying to get him excited about all the boy things. And he kept saying, I don't want that. I don't want that. And this was something that she was going to pay for her kids, and her daughters were happy. They got what they wanted. And this kid just got, like, the expression on his face. My friend and I were just beside ourselves. It was so sad. And he ended up not getting one because he didn't want one of the ones that his mom wanted for him. And she refused to say, okay, you can have the little fairy or the whatever it was that he wanted. Anyway.
And so she's basically, when you do that, you're telling the child, and this is a developing psyche, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's the message.
And that's so unfair to do to anyone.
Yeah, it was so sad.
That's heartbreaking.
It was because you can see it in their faces that they're confused and they're disappointed, and he wasn't old enough to understand and not that you should have to understand, but he had no defense against this. All he knew was that he didn't.
They believe what they're told. Your parents tell you, you play with this, and
he knew what he wanted, and he wasn't allowed to get it, and he couldn't understand why. And the mom was just, no. I think she said something like, this is terrible, but I think she said something like, Daddy won't like that. And that, again, it's just another awful thing. But I have to move on because you have so many really amazing things to talk about tonight. And I just wanted to just to finish my thought about that. If you tell someone that they're a man or a woman and they're stuck with it, there's nothing they can do about it, but turn around and say, but you're not acting ladylike, or that's not how a woman should act. That's not feminine enough. Or for a man, stop acting like a girl. Unless you're planning on broadening the definition of the gender roles to include basically every behavior that a person could have, so that if you're a man, then it won't matter how you act because everything is allowed. You could be completely feminine and it would still be fine. At that point, there's no gender at all anymore, which I personally think could be very cool. I think people should just be who they are. And I kind of can't wait for when society gets to that point where it almost gives me chills to think about where we're just who we are. Everybody you meet is just who they are. And the labels that they have are just used so that they can communicate themselves to you or to people that they want to. And if you don't, all you really need to know about someone when you meet them is what pronouns do they want in order to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
So anything after that is just whatever people want to share. So let's go back into comments, because then we need to get back, because you have fantastic. I know this because you told me the things you're going to talk about, and I want to make sure you have enough time. So let's look in comments. And again, you can do that, right? I didn't pop.
Yeah, I actually saw something funny go by about someone wanted an easy bake oven. And was forced to play with the boys' toys or whatever. I had the opposite problem. They gave me literally an easy bake oven, and I wanted my brother's toys, and they kept insisting that I play with these dolls and this oven, so I would put my dolls in the oven and for my experiments. But I know how that feels. It took such a long time to get through to them that I wasn't interested in these things. I was interested in my brother's 007 set and his telescope and all that other cool stuff that they got.
Yeah. That reminds me of this one Christmas. My older sister, she's like a year older than I am, and she got a chemistry set, and she had a little frog in a bottle. I thought that was so cool, all these little bottles of things. And I got the easy bake oven. And she was so upset.
Want the oven?
She's the one who likes to bake and cook. And of course I liked it. But she's older, and they were priming her to be the smart one.
Wow.
And she was. My sister is smart. I always felt like I was just like average, and anyway, I don't think my parents actually thought about what they were doing. And she also got a book. I remember she got The Little Prince, which I love that book. She hates it to this day.
Yeah.
She hates it to this day because what I got in place of a book was I got a like a bubble bath bottle like this, but it was shaped with that little doll head, and it had a little. I got everything she wanted. This is terrible. Okay, we have to move on. We're just.
Well, thank you. What did you say? I used my G.I. Joes in my friend's Barbie house.
I have to see that, but I Renaissance Fairy super chatted us. Thank you, and so did Morg. I missed that. Thank you guys. I'm trying to scroll up. I really appreciate and did we say thank you to Cicero? Cicero did too. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I wish I could look at these. I want to read these comments. I'll have to do it later because we're so far behind, and I really want to. I want to give you a chance to talk because you have such good stuff. But I did want to see if there was anything funny. I see people laughing. Yeah. Oh, Scorpio said, yes, I agree. No gender. I think that's a cool thing. We should talk more about that. Oh, hi, Kai. Kai's in here. I see him say,
Hey,
yes, yes, Susan, to something. Beetlejuice loves to cook. Yeah, awesome. Everybody should have an easy bake oven. Those things were.
Oh, they're great for melting things. That was probably a bad idea to give me that. But.
You know what? It doesn't matter, boys, girls, whatever you want to do with it. You can either cook it with it. You can use it as a chemistry experiment. Whatever. They're fucking fun. And I don't know the difference between the Susie Homemaker and the Easy Bake. One, you slid things through. I can't believe we're talking about this. I had the big blue thing that looked like a little mini oven. And and
the thing that had a light bulb in it.
Yeah.
Light bulb. Mm-hmm.
I want one. I really want one again.
Thank you, Eve.
Thank you, Eve. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to not look at comments because I get so distracted. F-bomb counter 1. Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay, well, fuck it. I don't. We had technical difficulties for half an hour. I'm allowed, whatever. Okay. So here's something that is going to lead into what Carrie has so many good things to talk about. But I had mentioned to her that this time of year always reminds me about Halloween time of year, reminds me about how much people love dressing up and self-expressing. And also cosplay, hugely popular, hugely. And so on the one hand, you see how much people love being able to express themselves and having fun, and they really enjoy it. And on the other hand, if it's not done in a socially acceptable way, you get these people who jump all over you if you're not expressing yourself the way it's expected given your sex, gender, and that, Carrie, you came right back with, oh, well, that's all the repression and the whatever. So I am going to just shut up and let you talk because I know you have a lot of really, really good content.
I think it's really important, and it's good that we clarify that biological sex, sexual orientation, and gender are 3 different things. And part of the problem is that people keep trying to lump them all together. And this is not new. This is not a new phenomenon of people coming out as different genders and what have you. Over a quarter century ago, there was a philosopher named Judith Butler who wrote a book called Gender Troubles. And basically, she argued against the binary view of sex, gender, and sexuality.
What? I'm sorry. When did she write this book?
This is about a quarter of a century ago.
Oh, wow.
Book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this is not, people are thinking it's new that people are coming out as non-binary, whatever. We just didn't have the words for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the spectrum has always existed. There's not man and woman, we're all on the spectrum between these things. So people are learning to define themselves a little better because we have the words, we're developing the words for it, the language for it, so we can communicate that better. Basically, her argument was that gender is not essential biologically determined or inherent quality.
Yes.
That it is a repeatedly performed thing based on societal norms. So by repeating these roles, these actions, it creates the illusion of two.
Mm-hmm.
That's to be socially acceptable, but the idea of gender itself is an illusion. There really isn't a gender per se.
Yeah, it's out there, created by society.
People, yes, there are just people doing things.
Yeah,
that's all there is.
Yeah,
there are even some scientists and biologists are starting to argue against the binary sexual aspects. They're finding uh, variabilities in chromosomes, in hormones, and all these other things. So even to the idea that there are only two sexes is coming into question
Well,
increasingly, which
yeah, I
I think
mean,
that's a good thing.
oh yeah, yeah. You see, the more they study and find out things, the less you find the less things fit into very neat little specific categories. You know, you
Well,
find out.
people are complex. We're not really meant to be this thing or that thing. They're just, the psyche is very complex. Human nature is very complex. Um, so I really like the idea that we're coming up with labels. People are able to define themselves more clearly. We just have to not be afraid of that. And I think you're talking about triggers. That's part of the thing that seems to be triggering people that are, do the Apache helicopter thing. Is that they're afraid of this new thing, this new way of thinking, this new worldview. Now, there are three main reasons for that binary mode of thought. But before I get into that, I just want to talk about a phenomenon called amygdala hijacking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you run into when you get people that just lose it. They're completely illogical. They get very angry. Turns into a name calling contest. And what amygdala hijacking is pretty much what it sounds like. The amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain. It's the fight or flight center of the brain. It reacts to threat. Now, when someone is in the throes of that, they did a study that was interesting. It has a physiological effect, and people would react as if they were being physically threatened, even if they were just talking.
Wow.
So that leads to a lot of, that kind of thing. So the three main reasons for the binary mode of thought are, one, of course, it says so in the Bible, religious beliefs. You can't really argue with them. You can't argue with that kind of mindset because God says so.
Yeah.
What else is there? Shadow suppression and shadow projection, which ties into the Halloween thing. You'll have people that are actually on the spectrum somewhere, or perhaps even attracted to the person that they're supposedly speaking against, but they don't admit it. They repress that, possibly usually from upbringing, like the little boy you were talking about. Parents are saying, no, boys don't do that. No, boys don't act that way. So they project those feelings of guilt and shame or whatever, they project that onto another person. That's a big problem. It's kind of like, you ever see a woman, I've seen this, women, they'll start calling another woman names if she's sexually expressive or something, or sort of try to shame her and everything. And meanwhile, they're just kind of jealous because they can't be that free, or they've been taught to be ashamed of their feelings that they're having. That makes a lot of trouble. A whole lot of trouble.
I think one of the things about people wanting to seeing something that they would like to do themselves, as like express themselves the way they want, and then that fear of what if I did that? What would society do to me? Really becomes a big issue. And they
makes the shadow even worse. It makes it even more of a problem.
Because they see that the person who they are directing their anger and criticism toward, they're jealous of the fact that this person has the courage to do that, to face everything. But their own fear of allowing themselves to do that causes them to then say, well, no, you can't do that. That you shouldn't be doing that. And they direct that outward. It's
exactly.
That's really sad.
Shadow projection is exactly what it is. The third would be and this is where you stand the better chance of getting through, of having an actual discussion. And this is pretty much what we're trying to do, I guess, is the third problem is lack of education and misinformation. And there's something, having come from a big city and been around all kinds of people, it took me a while to realize that there are people whose social circle is so small, they've actually never been around any other person, type of person, or anyone that identified as anything other than male or female. Mm-hmm. So they don't know what to do with that information. It challenges their entire worldview.
Yeah.
People are very fearful of something that's new and different. Mm-hmm. And instead of immediately saying, wow, that's amazing, look at what this person is doing, and the person could just be really just like happily living who they are, not bothering anybody, not expecting anybody to do anything different from what they're doing, just wanting to be left alone to do what they want to do without problems. But that the people who are encountering this for the first time or are just so threatened that they're like, nope, shut that down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the education is important. That's where it's important because once if someone begins to understand something, or even, gives a name to it, it isn't quite as scary.
Yeah. Exposure is really, really important, and I think, with I see a lot of really good stuff on social media. But I don't want to cut you off. I don't know how much more.
No, that's basically my thing is to be able to dialogue with people. And when you run into that mindset that you're talking about, the whole, well, I can be a helicopter or something. That's just ignorant. That's just pure ignorance.
I think I mean, obviously, some people can be helped. It can be helped to change, to see, to open up, expand. I think a lot of the really, really terrible ones, the ones that really trigger anger responses from me, the more nasty they are, I think the more fear they have. And I would
absolutely
right,
absolutely. They're afraid. They feel threatened. They're probably when you're undergoing an amygdala hijacking, you cannot think.
Yeah, and
I really can't think logically.
I think there's also, I don't know if it's cognitive dissonance as well with them, maybe if they're suppressing or repressing, I'm so bad at those.
Well, there's definitely that.
Yeah, and if they're doing that, the cognitive dissonance creates such a problem that they just want to, they want to remove anybody who triggers that in them from their sphere. They just like, nope, we can't have that anymore, so nobody can be like this, and they will just fight really, really hard. Cognitive dissonance will make you fight really hard to protect your view. I wanted to talk about, and this ties in with triggers too, but because I was thinking again earlier before the stream about that fear that people have, the more they react in this terrible, nasty, awful way, to the point where you just can't believe some of the things that's why I don't look at a lot of comments, frankly, because it's so upsetting to realize. But I reminded myself today, it hit me, these people, the more awful they are, it probably means that's the more issues they have inside. So it's almost like you have to look at them. Now, I don't mean you to excuse them. I don't mean say,
but you need to understand what's going on.
There's
some idea what's going on.
There's got to be something really, really bad that causes someone to act that way. That something has really gone wrong inside them
when you're that judgmental, when you're that not open. And
what I can't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think that I think religion is
it's a big
huge,
problem.
Huge.
What I can't understand is why anyone gets so up in arms over something that doesn't concern them at all.
Yeah.
What difference does it make to you?
It concerns them. It concerns them if it threatens their belief. If it's different,
it is a threat, but it's not a threat. It really has nothing.
See, if their life is dictated by the Bible, for example, and what the Bible says, and here comes someone who is indicating that this is not what God says, that it's a man, woman, that's it, you have babies, and so that's threatening the correctness, the truth of what they believe. If they allow it to continue, it's gonna undermine reality as they see it. So that's a problem.
It's like, if I was wrong about that, what else am I wrong?
Yeah. What else is
your whole house of cards can fall down.
Yes, point. I think again that's a cognitive dissonance thing, and when it's threatening the foundation of their life, their belief system, I think that's one of the reasons why they're so fierce. But I wanted to talk a bit about also the triggering, because there's a lot of people who are very, very good at dealing with nasty stuff that comes their way. And they also do it in a way that's very educational. They share, and there's somebody on Instagram, two accounts that I really like, and I wanted to just share them. One of them is somebody I'm pretty sure it was because Jan Erickson, Monday Monad, shared a story by this person, and I went to the site because I watched the whole little video. They non-binary, and their name is Jeffrey Marsh. The account, I believe, is Jeffrey Marsh. Huge account. I'm sure somebody out there already follows them.
I follow them. They're wonderful.
Yeah, really. I have seen awful comments that Jeffrey talks about, that Jeffrey, they get, and the way Jeffrey handles it, they're like amazing at, and they do this for a living too, counseling, and they always have a very loving, a very compassionate, they're very grateful for their audience who love them. And I'm one of the people, I like almost every one of their posts, because there's something in there that just reminds me that, yay, there's hope. We can do this. It's very uplifting. But Jeffrey is not like a doormat. Absolutely not. But responds in a way that's so productive, as opposed to when I talk about angry triggers, it's very easy to get really angry, forget that the person that you're looking at or even interacting with is very damaged. And that's the thing that I realized today that I have to remember. And I want to check comments and see if people are even interested in what we're saying. I hope so, because I just find this so this is something very important. And what time is it also? It's 10:15. Let me mention the next thing. They seem pretty happy in there. The other person, the other account, and I never get the name right. I'm bad with names. But this person is amazing and so incredibly articulate, incredibly intelligent, and just a fantastic all-around person. So interesting, and very, very educational. And the account name begins with ALOK. Oh, Andy, thank you. You're still listening, and I really appreciate that. ALOK, and I think it's V, and then I think the last name is men something. Anyway, if you type in ALOK V, I think those are the first letters, you will find this person, and they are
Instagram or
Instagram as well. Yeah, Jeffrey Marsh and Alok. If somebody knows who I'm talking about, because I can check my phone, I'll find out who it is. Because these are, if you're interested in this, this is really worthwhile. Very, very good account. I love ContraPoints too, but Natalie does amazing videos. I don't think Natalie does too much on. Yes, thank you, Cicero. Alok V. Menon. Look at Cicero's comment. ALOKVMENON. Thank you, Cicero. Yes, Morg too. Yes, thank you. Those two accounts are they're wonderful. Really worth following.
I'll have to look at the second one.
Cicero, yes, the hair. It's amazing. And the self-expression on both of them is I just love it. When you're listening to them or looking at them, you're seeing them. You're not seeing somebody trying to hide something. They are who they are, and they are amazing. And they anyway, I'm going on too long about it, but really worth following both of them. Okay, so you know what? What time is it? It's almost 20 after 10. And we started half an hour late, so technically, I don't know. We have a meeting to do, but I think if you didn't have anything else to say, Carrie, I would love it if we gave everybody a chance to type in some of what their triggers are. I would just be interested.
I'd like to say it.
Yeah. I don't think nobody's messaging me. None of the gang is messaging me about needing to get into our meeting. So, thank you, Beetlejuice. So if you guys, I'm trying to look at comments. If you guys have a trigger, something that triggers you, especially anger triggers, type them in. And if you want to share, and we can discuss for a few minutes. But I think they're having a good time talking to each other, so we could just let them do that too. Oh, thank you, Epsilon. This capitalism triggers you. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a gender thing. Anything. Listen, capitalism is that. That was Beetlejuice. Yeah. I think that triggers a lot of us. And oh, I'm sorry, if you heard that. Somebody messaged me. I need to turn off all my. I thought I caught everything. Yeah, capitalism. Capitalism that's another whole live stream.
Yeah,
that's but yeah, we feel the same way. And who was it that who was it that mentioned something about not being able to afford their medication? I just read that today somewhere, and those stories that I keep seeing. Was it you? I was wondering. I just didn't want to say, because I thought you said something about, because every time I hear about someone who can't afford their insulin, I go bananas. And this isn't where you start thinking that the person that you're talking to is damaged in some way. Well, I guess they are, because they're just so fucking greedy. But capitalism, the people who support it and how are making all the money. Yeah. We could go off on that for a long time as well. Let's see. Antichrist has said non-Christians justifying Christianity as being harmless. Yes. Yeah. I can deal with that without getting super angry, triggered, but it depends on how long the conversation goes when I'm talking to somebody, because I can come back if someone says it and they just mean it harmlessly, like, what is Christianity doing? It's not, my neighbor's Christian and she's so nice, and you come back with some logic, some rational discourse. And if they go, oh, okay, then I don't get angry triggered. It's when if the conversation keeps going, I can get angry triggered. But I also walk away from a lot of those because you can tell pretty quick if you're not going to get anywhere, and then it's a waste of time. The gender ones, I have a hard time.
I want to talk to Eve. Actually, I'm still working on it. Thanks for asking. And also, her trigger is one of mine for sure, bullies. Bullies piss me off. And that's my problem with all kinds of phobias and, bigotry and all that. It's the bullies. They just really trigger me. I can't stand to see that.
Oh, that's when the dragon comes out. No one wants to see the dragon.
Yeah. No, they don't want
No. The dragons, yeah. Eve, narcissism triggers. Well, yeah, anybody who's encountered a narcissist, and I'm one of them. Yeah, it's definitely a trigger, but I also tend to run away because if you can, you should run and not engage. If you have to, if you are in a situation where where it's inescapable, yeah, you have to take different action. But I would not engage on social media with someone who was like that. Just no.
There's no point in it.
There's no point. Yeah.
You gotta pick your battles.
But yeah, but alcoholic and bully, that's bad combination. And narcissist religions trigger me. Yeah. I'm gonna Scorpio angers me when I hear someone can't afford their. I don't understand the okay. I'm looking at how long can Carrie. How long can I be on the soapbox? Yeah, because I can angry talk. We'll have to talk. We'll be back with more live streaming if you guys want to hear more about these things. There's definitely a lot. Yeah, bullying. Bullying is bullying. Yeah, it's there's a lot of healing that needs to be done after situations like that. A lot of shadow work, and we are definitely going to come back. Carrie is amazing with inner star actualization, all of the shadow work involved, and it's that kind of work that is so important for us to do. It's why we do this, because we recognize, unlike people who aren't involved. I mean, there's people who aren't Hyperions who do shadow work, but as a movement, we absolutely promote that, talk about it, and really encourage. It's a component that we do. It's a component of Hyperionism.
It's important because so much of us is driven by our shadow. So much of our behaviors. Thought processes. It's important to know yourself.
Yeah, and it's a lifelong process as well. Yeah. Oh no, I can't say that yet because it hasn't come out yet. But we have a video coming out which touches on that a little bit. But I think that's coming out next week. So yeah, new video next week. Anticrisis. I love that. Expelliarmus. Yeah, I'm gonna start using that. I love it.
I am too. I think that's great.
Because I used to say bless you, because and when you stop doing it, it's uncomfortable to listen to someone sneeze and not say something.
And not say anything.
It's hard, right?
And then you feel rude.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's Gesundheit, but Expelliarmus, I love it. And I'm going to start using that because it's nice.
Great.
It's nice to have something to say. Thank you for that. Beetlejuice, why do you feel stuck where you're at? You mean is that in terms of shadow work? I'm wondering if you're responding to that. The Abraxian Way is going to be doing a live reading of the Path of Shadow on Friday at 8, where I'll explain the 3 aspects of self. Okay, that's very cool. And Is that here on YouTube? Hyperion, Hail Nutera. Bad examples of masculine energy triggers me. Toxic, promiscuous, homophobic men do a lot of damage to both males and females. Yes. I knew that's what you meant. I knew you meant that. I have a lot of trouble watching any situation where young boys are shamed for having emotions. Mark, very good. Mark Vanderpool.
Yeah.
Being sensitive, abusive gender stereotypes, right? Yes. Riley, all of them. You know, something that absolutely has to get worked on for men is the embracing feminine things that are normally the feminine side of them, and especially being able to be emotional. I think it's starting to happen more again. You know, we are evolving. It's not super fast, but I also see a backlash recently. I mean, I'm sure there's been a backlash forever, but be prepared for a pushback on that, because I've seen comments where someone says, "Oh, it's nice to see a man being a man," or, you know, yeah, those kinds of things, and it just makes me cringe, because, you know, here it comes. It's the response to people trying to become more whole and well-rounded, and somebody's trying to squash it.
We're dealing with people they're feeling threatened.
Yeah.
And if we could just get people to get rid of that fear of you know.
Yeah. Can you imagine the person who says, yeah, we want, you know, men to be strong and, you know, the head of the house and someone you can always rely on. Can you imagine the stress that puts on the man?
It's incredibly unhealthy.
It is.
Handling up of emotion and being stoic, and
that's why
don't cry or any of that. That's so unhealthy.
And look at the abuse. That no wonder. I mean, I'm not saying it's all because of that, but, you know, when you are not allowed to, when you can't access part of your being, it has to be locked away in some other room away from you. And it's because people say things like, men should be strong. You're the person that I rely on, you know, therefore you can never show a weak side and you always have to be the problem solver and the whatever. I mean, you know, it's denying a whole part of you. Anyway, again, soapbox could go on forever, and we really do need to get going. Snowflake. Oh, I hate the term snowflake. That was Andy who said that. Yeah, I agree. There's lots of good comments in here. Yes, Philip, good comment. My dad has issues tapping into his emotions because his dad hammered into him that it wasn't manly, and this is what happens. Yeah.
Cycle. It needs to be broken.
Yeah. Yeah. My own dad had difficulties. It wasn't because that he was you know, forced to. He was really, really, really sweet man, but he wasn't forced to be strong. But he felt that gender role, definitely. And he didn't like being, having that. He could be soft and cute and whatever, but he didn't want to appear kind of weak. And that was, you know, there was difficult. He couldn't tap into that part of his emotions. Anyway, you guys, have been saying great comments. And yes, saying I love you first. Yeah, Philip, that's a good example. The Abraxian way said once said, gotta give a self hug. That's good. You know, this is, I really enjoy. We were off to a bad start, but with the technical difficulties. But I really enjoyed this discussion, and this is something that was important. That's important to both of us, and it makes it really great when there's all this interaction. And I know I will go back
I'm sure Carrie will too.
Yeah,
And
I
actually,
miss a lot of things.
we'll actually read your guys' comments because I would like to know. Thank you, Eve.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone who super chatted. And I saw someone super chatting when we were talking, and I missed it. Darn it. I will get better at this, where I write things down, where I know how to access. I think it was Philip again. Thank you. Oh, and Rabbit Snowflake. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And you guys are awesome. Thanks. Oh, thanks. Christina's in here modding for us. And oops, I just lost. There it goes. I just lost my OBS. This was really awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Have we forgotten to say anything? I don't know.
I don't think so. It was
hi, Angela. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And
Angela.
And anybody.
Good night, Juice. I think I saw him say.
Yep. Good night, Beetlejuice. Satrina, hello. Jeannie Bottle, hello and goodbye. Cassidy, hi Cassidy. There's these people who have been hiding in here, and I didn't know were here, and luckily they're coming in at the end.
Renaissance Fairy.
Morg, thank you, Morg.
Thank you.
Yes. Melinda, hi Melinda. I don't know if I said hello before. Hello to everybody. Goodbye to everybody. Thank you. And we are going to try streaming every Wednesday. So look for our little link, thumbnail, advertisement, whatever, on Facebook the night before. And please hit notifications on YouTube so that you get notified as well. Bye, Eve. Bye, you guys.
Bye, guys.
And yeah, so I'm not sure who is going to be live streaming on any particular week, but we're hoping to be able to do it every Wednesday. So we hope you will join us. And thank you, Philip. And yeah, great stream. I really enjoyed it. So I think that's it. We are saying goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. And I'll see you in a minute in a meeting.